Louisiana country boy. He had a pair of eyes that was unbelievable.
He still has a pair of eyes. At his age, his eye doctor just can't get over it.
Well, I mean, and so we're approaching this bill, and there was an old foundation, probably from an old French house that used to be there, but it was just a concrete foundation, maybe come up about this high. And as we're approaching it, we had to walk across this open area that was basically like this, okay? And we were walking, what we were doing is we were walking into an L-shaped ambush. And we were going to go straight across that, because that's just the path we were taking. And you gave me this, Lieutenant up, and you were telling me you were seeing something, so we were just all using sign language. So I crawled up to him, and I whispered in, so I never called you Artie, I called you Wesley probably. Wesley's your real name, isn't it?
No, it's McKinley.
McKinley.
Everybody called me Mac over there.
Yeah, Mac. Okay, because I didn't remember the Artie. Yeah. Okay, so I said, what is it? He says, I see something out there. So I lay there with him looking over this little, it would seem like for 5 minutes. It probably was at least 5 minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And finally I see just a little flicker. And he got that, and they were there waiting for us. Now, how do you remember that?
Yeah, I was walking. I was getting ready to come up to it. There was an opening, like you said, about 50 or 60 yards that we had to go across. And just before I got to it, I happened to see something shine, and I turned around and looked, and there was a goop with an AK-47, chrome or whatever. It was real shiny. And I caught the glimpse of the gun, and I seen him run back, and he went down into the. It looked like he'd run down into a hole, and I couldn't see him.
It turned out they had ditches right there. Yeah, they had ditches. Yeah.
And then you come up to me and talked to me, and I explained what I'd seen, and you said you sent me and Seiko to try to go around.
Well, that's after we took him up. Remember, we got this M60 up though. And we started firing that. Then we tried to flank them. Remember, we had that Vietnamese. What do we call them? Chuhois. He stood. He only had one hand, and he's standing up. I remember he's standing up, firing his pistol at these guys. Unbelievable. This guy was a good guy, but he was missing a hand. But yeah, but if we had walked into that, you'd have been dead. I'd have been. Well, they would have. I can't remember how many men we had. We probably had was about an 8-10 man patrol. 10. It was a squad.
Probably
a squad.
Machine gun, radio man, and we probably had a dozen.
Yeah.
Pretty close to a dozen.
But if we had all walked up and there was all small arms fire, they would have got us all. Because we couldn't have got out. And thank you.
And they sent Amtrak in right after that. Remember the Amtrak's coming in after?
Well, I kind of do. But I remember I had difficulty getting mortar fire in there too. I was wanting to get mortar fire, and they said, "No, that's a friendly village." And I keyed the handset up, and I held it up like that. And I said, "Does that sound like a friendly?" And we were taking a lot of fire.
It got pretty hot there for a while.
So it must have been right after that. Then was that? That must have been before we got overrun on the bridge. Well, remember that we went on an operation. We went on an operation back in. I don't even know what the name of the operation was. They flew us all back in a helicopter. It was a battalion-sized operation, and we had the 105s right behind us.
Mm-hmm.
In the perimeter. That was.
Yeah, I remember that because it kept blowing the. It kept shaking the tent at night.
Yeah.
And they'd shoot them things.
Well, okay, I got to tell you a funny story though. We had one of our men get not in my platoon, but another platoon got there was leeches all over the place. So one of them got a leech up his penis. Had to medevac him during the night. Now I wasn't aware of this. Until the next day, the word got around. You got to watch out for the leeches. So man, we're all careful. So we're all careful. I'm going. So that night, we're sitting down. We were patrolling during the day, but we all had a section of the perimeter. So I put a bunch of the insect repellent, mosquito repellent. I put it all around my vitals down here. Like that, and Marines saw me do it, so they all did it too. Well, it wasn't 5 minutes later, we're all running down to the stream, watching us. It was burning the hell out of us.
That stuff was
just-
hot. Boy.
Oh, no wonder, yeah. But it was very caustic. Very caustic. So what'd you do when you got back?
I went to North Carolina, and when I got wounded, now I didn't find this out till about 2 months. What? No, 2 years
September?
ago.
What?
About 2 years ago, I found out when the grenade throwed me, I landed on my neck, right there. And I got about 2 years ago, when I found out the cancer had spread to my spine, they turned around and did an MRI. Well, where I landed on my neck right here, the doctor told me, the radiologist, he told me, he says, if I wouldn't have seen you walk in, he said, I'd have swore you'd have been in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Because it had just about, it moved the bone so much, the backbone so much, that it just about severed my spinal
Right.
cord.
Yeah.
Now, the Marine Corps never picked it up.
Maybe never.
Of course, back then, they didn't have nothing but x-ray machines, I guess.
Wasn't as sophisticated now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he told me, he says, I just cannot believe. He said, you ain't been crippled up. He says, well, as tight as that thing is cut. And but anyhow, I came back and they put me on a U3 profile. In fact, I was on a U3 profile when I was on Hill 41. They had a cook that got burnt. I was inside a tent, and I happened to see him go out there, and he went to pour some diesel fuel on the trash pile where he dumped all the excess food and stuff that was left over and stuff. And when he went to dump it, I turned around and I was sitting in that tent looking out the back door where he was at, and I said, "Oh no!" And when he dumped it, it just flashed back on him and caught him on fire.
Oh,
and I don't know what it was. When I took off running out the tent, the last bunk I passed by, I grabbed one of the big wool blankets off the tent. And he seen me coming. He started running towards me, and I wrapped the blanket around him and put the fire and stuff out. And he got burnt pretty bad. His name was Nolan, I think. And they had a gunnery sergeant Short, S-H-O-R-T, that was on the hill at the
Did he
time.
take Smith's place then? Gunnery Sergeant Smith,
I don't
the
remember.
black guy. He was a black.
Yeah, this
he's
is a
black
white guy. Shorts is a
so
white
Short
guy.
took-
He was
yeah.
big, kind of heavy set, felt a little overweight. And he turned around and 2 days later he turned around and he said, "Do you think you know how to cook?" I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "I'm from Louisiana." I said, "I can cook." He said, "Well," he said, "You the new cook." He turned around and put me as a cook there.
What month was that?
Oh, that was, I don't remember exactly when it was. I got off the hospital ship, but it was probably about 2 months, maybe 3 months before I left to go home. Probably 2 months. And you stayed on 41 the whole time? You never left?
Well, no. After 55, we went to 10 briefly, and then we went over to 41. But then I left January 1 to go out to Da Nang, out to Marble Mountain, and I was flying as an AO out there.
Yeah.
They needed some more AOs to fly in the backseat of these 01 bird dogs, and they put out a division order, and every second lieutenant in the division applied for it because it was going to be a great job if you could get it. And 4 of us got picked, and I was lucky enough to be one of the 4. So that's when I left the platoon. But see, our company, that company commander we had at the time that took Renault's. Who was the company commander when I left? I'll think of his name. But he wanted me to be his XO. And I didn't like the guy. And I didn't want to be his XO. And I told him, I said, "I just don't want to be your XO." But in any event, so then you cooked your last couple months.
Yeah, I cooked the last
Good for you.
couple of months there, and then they sent me back, and I went to North Carolina from there, and they put me. They were going to send me to Guantanamo, and then I says,
Yeah.
I don't think you can send me out of states. He said, "Why not?" I said, "Well, I'm on a U3 profile." I said, "You're not supposed to.
Now, U3 profile, refresh my recollection. What was that?
It's supposed to be for your back.
Okay.
You got a back injury."
Okay.
And I said, "I'm on a U3 profile." I said, "You can't send me out of state." He said, "You on a U3? I said, "Yeah." I said, "Send my records." They turned around and went and pulled a record. He said, "Yeah, you sure are." He said, "Well, what can we do with you?" He turned around and he says, "How about working at the Area 1 Club?" I said, "All right." I said, "That's fine with me." So that's what I did. I worked 2 days one week, 5 days the next week, and I drew military pay plus extra pay for working at the club at night.
Good for you.
I never saw him in a uniform till the day he got out of the service.
No, I went one other time for a buddy of mine's court martial.
You know, I wonder if I got some pictures from Hill 55 and Hill and the bridge. Do you have any?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me find
I
what pictures
got maybe one or two pictures of Vietnam. All the, when I got wounded, when I came back, I don't know what happened to my stuff. My camera, everything I had was gone. Somebody took all that stuff.
Yeah.
It didn't get put in storage or something.
Well, they
When
shouldn't
I
have
got
taken
back,
your
it was
camera,
all
but
missing.
I can understand swiping all the rest of you. But if somebody, because boots and clothes and everything else were in short supply, good utilities and stuff. So if somebody got wounded, we stripped them totally and kept everything, weapons and everything. But the camera should have been safeguarded. I'm going to sift through what I got, and I'll have copies made and send them to you.
This is everybody that was at the Delta 170.
Yeah, you know, I made the one before. Let me see.
And here's one of the pictures of us. All of us that hung around together. Sullivan and straight down. I was the next bunker, next to the water.
So you were closer below,
Yeah.
on the Hill 55 side.
No, I was next, right up against the river. I was on the south side of the river.
Okay, so you were on the opposite side. You
Yeah.
were where the who was it that was killed?
I was on the same side you were on.
Okay, so
But I was in the second. So like you were right here. There was one bunker right here. The bridge went across, and then the river was right here. I was right there, next to the water.
Okay, were you on the same side? Who was the machine gunner that took the RPG in the
No,
chest?
I wasn't on that side.
Yeah, he was sitting up. We came back in off of
He was
this.
on the right side of the bridge.
We came back in after this operation, and the bunkers were in total disrepair, grass in the wire, and I went to our company commander, Renault, and I asked him, I said, because it was this, one day we got patrols, ambush, and I realized the next day, I said, we're not going to have time to get this fixed. And he wouldn't give me any extra people to work on things, and he ordered me not to cut the grass away from the wire. I asked for a flame tank that was up in the hill to come down and just burn all the grass away. And I'll never forget what he said. He says, I like the grass in the wire because it hides the wire from the gooks.
Like they didn't know it wasn't there?
Yeah, well, the only problem is when they got up there, we couldn't see them either. And these sappers came through the wire, and they'd obviously been rehearsing this for probably weeks. And they had this so professionally done. When they hit us, boom, those Bangalore torpedoes came through the wire. They were running inside. But boy, the Marines, the response we had, they killed 2 other Marines on the other side of the bridge. And I can't remember their name. Well, the one name is
Ramos got killed on the north side of the bridge.
okay.
He was on the opposite side of the bridge, and on the left-hand side in the bunk, they hit him with a. Remember, he had maybe 1 or 2 days left, and his wife had just had a baby.
Yeah, I met her.
He got
I
killed.
met her when we had the reunion in Texas. Yeah, we had a where was that reunion? The one I went to before. What was the one before the one in North Carolina?
I've only been to one.
Okay, so anyway, I met met the boy, the son.
Yeah.
He's grown now, and I met his what would have been his grandson, and I had I had something with me, a memento. I gave it to the grandson. Family broke down crying. I mean, really nice people,
Yeah.
But so anyway, we responded, and there were two NVA right close by you that were actually inside. I ran by them because I thought they were you guys. I thought they were my Marines. I ran right by them, probably no further away than that wall. It was so dark, and I'm just running like this. I look over, I see these two, and I just think that my guys were standing. Well, it turned out that they were sappers.
Yeah.
And they were all around.
We'd called up. There was me and Meatball,
Meatball, I remember him.
Yeah, he got sent back to the States. I think he got a dishonorable discharge. Or undesirable discharge. That's what it was. Me and Meatball, and there was somebody else inside the bunker. And about 10 o'clock, we could hear sound like somebody cutting the concertina wire out there. And we'd called to the bunker for some HE. It's not HE, the illumination.
Yeah. And we got the illumination, but we
And
didn't see
no,
it.
we never did get no
We didn't
illumination.
get it.
No,
You
we
know
didn't
what?
get none.
You know what?
We got
That's
it
right.
out.
They wouldn't give us. They
They
wouldn't
wouldn't
give
give
us.
us to it. They
That's
denied
right.
it.
They would. Okay. Thank you.
And then about 2 o'clock in the morning, I was just getting off my watch at 2 o'clock, and I told Meatball, I said, "There's somebody out there." I said, "I can hear them cutting the damn wire and stuff." And when I told him that there, it didn't take but about 2 seconds. All hell broke loose
Well,
on that bridge.
I'd gone on the other side of the bridge and talking with Ramos over there. Was it Ramos? Or was Ramos the guy that lived in the bunker? But anyway, whoever it was,
Yeah.
we're talking about the same guy. And he had thrown a couple grenades, and I came back one time, and then our company commander called me and says, "What were you doing?" I said, "Well, we thought we heard some noise out there, and we were just throwing grenades out there." And he said, "Well, I don't want you doing that. You're disturbing people up here."
Mm-hmm.
This guy was something else. Bleck Smith was the company commander after that. He was good in many respects, and I don't want you to get this wrong that I dislike all the kind of command. This first one, Renault, was basically incompetent. The second company commander we had was very good. He was formerly on the rifle team. I forget his name. And then we had Bleck Smith, who turned out to be pretty good. But I just didn't want his personality was such. I just didn't want to be his company XO. But so. I wasn't about to pass that order, not to throw grenades. I just wasn't going to do it. So I heard another grenade thrown, so I went across the bridge again and talked to him again. And he said, I definitely heard something, just like you. And I said, well, you just keep throwing the grenades, all right? All right. And I walk across the bridge, and it's about the same sequence you had. Within 5 minutes, all hell broke loose.
Yeah. Yeah, we were laying up on top of the bunker, and when it started, we jumped off the bunker and got inside it, and I happened to look to the left, and the bunker blew up over there to hit with an RPG round.
Yeah.
So I turned around and told everybody, get out of the bunker, get behind it. That would give us a double layer of sandbags, and it didn't take but a second. They blew the front of the bunker out.
Yeah.
And we were lucky that we didn't get, wasn't
Were you a
inside.
Lance Corporal then?
No, I was still a PFC.
You're
then.
still a PSC. Then,
Oh, wait a minute.
Did you help us?
No, I was a Lance Corporal, because when I got to Hill 41,
I think you're a Lance Corporal. Is my recollection.
yeah, I was still a Lance Corporal then.
Do you remember that we found some satchel charges on the side of the
Yeah.
bridge? We're ripping
They
them off.
done planted them.
Yeah, they got to the bridge. We stopped them before they could put the detonating devices in, and that was their objective, was to blow the bridge.
It was close.
Yeah. Well, we're ripping them off by hand. I ripped one off by hand. Other Marines were ripping them off over here. Who was that knucklehead that threw the grenade down? And he stands up and watches it roll down. He gets wounded by it. He took a shrapnel. No, when you throw a grenade, you get down.
Yeah.
It's rule number one. And he had just rolled it down because he could see these guys down there, and he just rolls it down like that. And he wants to peek. Take a look. Well, we could tell war stories like this all day long. You don't mind talking, do you?
No,
You know, when I talk with you, not a problem. And you're probably the same with me, but I tell Jan, it's not comfortable when you're talking to people that didn't share it with you.
You remember that sweep we went, that block sweep we went on? It was me and you, and Seiko. I was the radio man at the time. Sullivan walked point. He had a machine gun. And we went down the river, across the river. We went across the river, across the bridge, and took off along the edge of the river. Made a sweep. There was about a dozen of us, I guess. That's when Sullivan walked into those hammocks where the goops was sleeping, and they run to the river, and he killed them all with that machine gun.
kind of remember it, but it was
That was all-
Was this the one where we spot? It turned out to be ARBN troops across the river.
No, there wasn't no Oregon troops.
Okay, it was another.
We made a sweep all the way around like that there, and we were going to be a blocking force is what it was. We were supposed to be a blocking force. And we stopped and set up a blocking force, and we had a sniper with us at the time. And they come through with some Ontos and Amtraks. The Ontos was the little ones with the three 105s on it. And they come through like that there, and we killed. There was only one gook that come out of the villages. They thought the gooks were coming into villages and sleeping at night.
Yeah.
We had a guy killed, a guy that was sitting in the Amtrak, on the Amtrak. Well, there was three of us sitting on top of the Amtrak, and the guy sitting right on the side of me got killed. After the Amtraks got ready to leave.
That might have been before I got there. Are you sure I was with you?
Oh, I'm sure you was with
Okay.
us. Because you'd come ask for volunteers, and me and Seiko volunteered.
Seiko was good.
Something.
You stay in touch with him, Seiko?
He calls he just found me about last year, baby.
Yeah, you'd never been in touch with anybody since you got out.
I hadn't been in touch with anybody. I'd lost track of everybody. And Snyder called me one day and told me who he was. I said, "Yeah, I remember you, George." And then he turned around and told me where Tulu was at and Tuye was at, and then Seiko was at.
Do you remember Joe Lambert? He was my platoon sergeant in 1st Platoon. He stepped in front of me. And I think Evans was a squad leader by the name of Evans. Remember him, the black kid?
Yeah.
And the corpsman was right in front of me. And so we're moving out, and he gets shot through the leg, and we're taken under fire. And so I'm crawling up to him, same thing. This is my first patrol. I'd never treated a wounded man. I'm feeling like I'm overcome with the heat, the whole thing. It was like when the first time. And I'm patching his leg, and I'm trying to get this tourniquet on and compress on, and I'm going, what's wrong with this picture? He's supposed to be treating me. I'm not supposed to be treating him. But you're right. Your very first time doesn't change. You'll always remember it. Evans, were you with us on that patrol? No, you probably weren't, because you weren't in Evans' squad, were you?
No.
Okay, because there was another time when he got shot through the shoulder. I was standing next to him. Well, he got shot through the right shoulder. I'm on his right. So I know that sniper was shooting for me and not for him, and he pulled a little bit right. So as I told Evans, I said, better you than me.
Better his shoulder than you, huh?
Well, yeah, no, but he had to laugh. But he was a tough little old black kid, and a good Marine. We don't have any hardly any black Marines come to any of the reunions, whether they're just Delta or 1-7. It's just hard to keep.
Come to think of it, there wasn't nobody showed up. No black showed up.
I didn't. I assumed that you only had one or two, and
No, there was a lot.
Oh, no.
That was when I first, like you said, your first experience when you first get there. I turned around and they put me on a truck. Didn't give me a rifle from out of Da Nang, and sent me to Hill 10. Well,
That's where you got.
We got ambushed on the way to Hill 10.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. The truck driver said everybody hit the deck, and he just kept rolling. He ain't slowed down a bit. And we got ambushed, and I said, boy, that's a fine deal. I said, I'm going to get killed, and I ain't even got a rifle. That's pretty good. We get on top of the hill, go in front of the battalion commander. He turns around, and he says, a Sharp. He says, that's a good deal. He said, we'll let you take Richard Sharp's place. There was a Richard Sharp just before me. He was a radio man. He got killed. And they turned around and told me that we're going to make a radio man out of you. And that's what I started out with. Platoon was a radio man. I said, well, that ain't bad. And I got over there. At least I'm going to be walking point, And I turned around and get over there, and everybody turned around and said, man, you going to be the radio man? I said, yeah. He said, that's the first man they try to kill is the radio man. He said, try to knock the radio out. I said, oh, Lord.
That battalion commander, I think of his name in a minute, he just passed away.